So I think that if someone had told us a few years ago that we would leave everything that we've ever known and move to Tennessee and start all over again, we wouldn't have believed them. But here we are.
Yes.
I'm Lindsay, and this is my husband, Jonathan. Together, we've been married for 13 years, and we have 4 amazing daughters. And this little piece of Tennessee is where we are building the next chapter of our story. So we were both born and raised in Florida. We met there, and we got married there. We had all 4 of our girls there. Our parents are still there. Our friends are still there. Our church family is there. And pretty much, everything that we've ever known is there, right? So how we got started is like so many other young families that, have a dream. We wanted land and we wanted space and we wanted to raise our girls where they could run barefoot, which, side note, probably wasn't the best idea, just simply because we created a really bad habit, because now we show up to the grocery store and my girls don't have shoes. Anyways, but work alongside us and learn where their food comes from. And so we bought our first home with a 5-year plan, because quickly we figured out that we weren't going to be able to get exactly what we wanted right off the bat when we started looking for our first home. So what we did was we kind of settled with, okay, you know what we should do is buy a new construction home. And the reason we did that is because, again, we had a plan. We knew that we weren't going to be there, but maybe, hopefully, 5 years, right? But then when we went to sell, we knew that everything was still going to be in great shape. So we wouldn't have to worry about fixing a bunch of things up and inspections and things like that. And by the grace of God, we didn't have to, right? So we were able to sell that. Our goal was simple, and it was to work hard and build equity and someday buy acreage. We reached that goal actually a year early. So we bought 5.5 acres in Florida, and we cleared the land ourselves and we built our home. And that was the start of everything, because the reality of that is we did everything there that we are looking to do here. So we're just kind of transplanting a little bit, right? Because we did have a beautiful garden there. We were able to grow so many different things. We put it all right in the ground. We had great soil and a great turnout, always a great harvest, right? So that was beautiful. That is where my girls learned how to raise livestock. And they've been doing that ever since. We still have cows that we have to get up here that are our girls' cows. So again, chickens and all the things that we had there that we are planning on doing and building right here. So we thought that we found where we would spend the rest of our lives. But then God began changing our hearts. And over the next few years, some things kind of began to change, right? So the town that we grew up in was changing. The open farmland that we loved was disappearing. So the neighborhoods and the shopping centers seemed to be kind of popping up everywhere. And though growth is not a bad thing, we just kind of realized that our hearts were in a different place, right? We wanted room and space to grow. We wanted more room to build. We wanted more room for our girls to experience the kind of childhood that we had and that we remembered. But all of that to say, really the hardest part was leaving. In fact, it was the hardest decision I think that we've ever made, right? Because again, we left our parents and we left siblings and we left nieces and nephews and our closest friends, pretty much everything that we've ever known. And for me personally, one of the hardest parts of all was leaving my precious Grandma Fee. So the other side of us finally getting our 5.5 acres in Florida that we were so excited about was that we were right next door to my 85-year-old grandmother. So my girls could literally cross pastures to get to her. We go back a lot to see her, and everyone else, don't get me wrong, but again, precious to me. So we were walking away from people that we love, and that just wasn't easy or something that we took lightly. This was not a quick decision, and it wasn't impulsive. It came after months of prayer and conversations and really trusting that it wasn't even our own idea, that this was the Lord leading us, right? So emotionally and physically and spiritually, this is been one of the biggest leaps of faith that we personally have ever taken. So fast forward, when Jonathan came to Tennessee to look at land, he found this piece of property that we are on now and bought almost by chance because the land wasn't even for sale. It just so happened to be owned by the realtor who was showing him the other properties that we were looking at. So it's 8 acres and it has a beautiful creek, but it is still nothing but woods. And it also had just a tiny shell of a garage. So where I think most people would probably not see much of anything at all, we saw possibility. He came back home and was so excited. And once again, just out of trusting God and trusting him, it was like, he's like, this is the one. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it here. So this is what we went with. So we started clearing the land and preparing the house site. And then pretty quickly reality hit, because we learned that getting work done here is not really as simple as like making a phone call. So we had to pivot. So instead of waiting around, we decided we're gonna make it work here. We just got to move there, right? So Jonathan transformed the little shell of a garage into a tiny house. So we have 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom with 2 lofts for 6 people. 6 people. So it's definitely been an adventure. And I think if you were to ask my children that, I don't think that adventure is probably the word that they would use, but that's the one I'm going to use, right? So our goal isn't simply to build a house here. Our goal is to build a legacy, a place where our girls can learn to work hard and to grow food and to preserve it, to build things with their own hands and to really trust God through every season. Because as a family, I do not believe that God just moved Jonathan and I here, right? Like, I believe that he has something for each and every one of us. I don't think that God didn't consider my children when he said, up and leave everything that you all have ever known. My oldest is 15 years old, almost 16. Not easy. She's been amazing throughout the whole process. Amazing. Not a foul like attitude or anything. Honest about it not being easy, but like still willing, right, to like not make it miserable on everyone. And we all know that teenagers, if she wanted to, she could. So but then we have an almost 12-year-old, we have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. So again, they've all lived enough life in Florida to really miss it, right? So this is not something like this is all they've ever known. Another huge goal for our family is to build this homestead as wisely as we can. We're choosing to build slowly, to do as much of the work ourselves as possible, and to save before we spend, to avoid unnecessary debt whenever we can. So this is not going to be the fastest way. It probably won't be the easiest way. Like, no, fact, it's not going to be the easiest way. This channel isn't just about building a homestead. This is about building a life that is super intentional, a life where faith is going to have to lead us and family's going to keep us grounded. And every project is just another step toward the legacy that we really hope to leave our daughters. So welcome to How to Read. We are so glad that you are here. We'll see you on the next video.